Aloha, I'm Greg Misakian, First Vice President of Kokua Council. We want to welcome everyone who is joining us today for our forum to discuss 2025 legislative priorities. We usually have this forum at the end of the year prior to the new legislative session in New Year. But this year we are meeting just prior to opening day at the legislature, which is this Wednesday, the 15th. We have many guest presenters today from numerous organizations that serve the community, our kupuna, and those in need, and we hope to learn more about their legislative priorities. Each presenter will be given up to 5 minutes, and when everyone is done presenting, we will take questions which can also be entered into the Zoom chat. With that, I will introduce the first organization to present, AARP Hawai'i, and we welcome Audrey Suga-Nakagawa, Director of Advocacy.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for allowing AARP to participate in this very important meeting. As introduced, I'm Audrey Suga-Nakagawa and Advocacy for AARP. AARP Hawaii is a nonprofit, nonpartisan organization that dedicated to empowering people to choose how they live as they age. And our membership starts at age 50, although we do accept younger people to join us. And we advocate on stronger communities on what matters most to the people 50 plus and their families. We have a membership of 135,000 members in Hawaii, and that reflects our diverse population. So what I'd like to do this morning is just highlight I do have some things that are popping up here and I don't know how to take that off, but I want to just highlight 3 of our priority bills. There are several others, but that I would like to present to you all. So the first bill is the Hawaii Retirement Savings Programs. This is a bill that makes some administrative amendments to the program that was established back in 2022. This Hawaii Retirement Savings Program is designed to help our private sector 173,000 private sector workers, many who work for small businesses, do not have an easy way to save for their retirement. Financial resiliency is very, very important. We know that people cannot live on Social Security alone, so it is very important that people start saving as early as possible. For many of our workers who work for the state, government agencies, or for larger companies, they usually have access to a pension plan or 401k where they can participate and have automatic deductions from their paychecks to go towards their retirement. But for these 173,000 workers, they do not have such an option because many of them have small businesses or employers who just are not able to afford and administer such a program. So this program was created in 2022. However, when that program was established, it was designed as a voluntary opt-in program, meaning that people can choose to participate in the program. We know that is not the best practice. It really should be an automatic participation with the option to opt out. So we're seeking in this session to have that administrative changes made so that people can participate much more easily and we can ensure a more successful rollout. The program is also asking for an appropriation of $720,000. So while initially when the program was established, there was money that was funded to do the startup. However, those monies had lapsed and the Department of Labor, which is housing the program, was only able to get funding for positions, but not for operations. So again, in this bill, we are asking for the appropriation so that the program can get started and rolling it out, as well as to make the necessary amendments to the program features. So that's our first bill. The second one is the paid family leave. And I know that Nicole Wu is on this panel as well, so she can go and elaborate more. But basically, we are seeking to have a measure that will allow working families to be paid so that while they take a few weeks off to take care of a loved one without having to sacrifice their income or their jobs. There may be several versions of this particular measure that will be introduced. But again, this is a program that we have heavily advocate for because we know that we have 154,000 families who are caring for their loved ones. And this is just for the older adults. And you can imagine that there are many more who have also children. We do know that there's many who are called the sandwich generation, and they're taking care of both older adults, family members, as well as their children. So you can imagine the financial burden that's on them if they would have to leave their jobs to take care of their loved ones. The third bill is the caregiver tax credit. Now, this is a bill that failed last year, and we're hoping that it would have a better chance this year again. And this will allow family caregivers who are taking care of their loved ones and paying monies out of their own pockets to pay for the kind of expenses, things like adult daycare, incontinence supplies, equipment, additional services come in, even for prescription drugs that sometimes even the individual themselves are not able to afford. So having this tax credit will provide some financial relief for our family caregivers who are very dedicated in trying to keep their loved ones at homes. So those are the top three bills that AARP is advocating for, but we also are supporting other bills that's related to affordable housing, disaster preparedness. We know the condo insurance is a big bill that's going to be looked at, as well as other types of safety and life safety type of bills for pedestrian. So thank you very much, and I'll defer to the next speaker.
Hey, thank you very much for that presentation. And let me just bear with me because I'm just looking at my list. I had to update the list. So next up, we have the Alzheimer's Association Hawaii, Coby Chock, Director of Policy and Advocacy.
Thank you, Greg. Let me just share my slides here. Can everyone see it okay?
Yep.
Okay. So I'm with the Alzheimer's Association in Hawaii, and our 2025 legislative priorities are really centered around one, which is early detection. And just a little background about our association and this issue. Our vision as an association is a world without Alzheimer's and all other dementias. We provide resources to people across the community, as well as work in our work in public policy and advocacy. And we really want to drive global research, driving risk reduction, early detection, and maximizing quality care and support. So in Hawaii, we have nearly 100,000 impacted by Alzheimer's, about 60,000 caregivers, and 30,000 individuals living with Alzheimer's. Some of our policy wins from previous years is dementia training for crisis intervention officers, which is already happening. $1 million public awareness campaign for Alzheimer's disease and related dementias, which we'll be rolling out anytime now. It's supposed to be the beginning of 2025. And finally, something that you may have heard in the news a few times now, Silver Alert. And DLE has indicated that it will be happening by the end of this fiscal year, the latest. So a little of the background of dementia and diagnosing it. It is a disease that causes cognitive decline and memory loss, along with other behavioral changes as well. It can be detected through a few ways. MRIs can look for things that happen physically in the brain, such as mini stroke or strokes. But more frequently, we see for the diagnosing of dementia, cognitive assessment test of some sort, whether they're the mini cog, as you see on the left side, which lasts 3 to 5 minutes, or something more comprehensive like the Montreal Cognitive Assessment, or MoCA, on the far right-hand side, which takes about 15 minutes or so. These are simple tests, but they are most effective at diagnosing cognitive changes in the brain, especially if you have a baseline to base it off of. And with Alzheimer's, it's physically a plaque that builds up in the brain. You see on the left side a normal brain where you have neurons and in between the connections being clear. And then in Exhibit B, you have tangles on the neurons and then plaques between them, which ultimately break down brain tissue and you lose brain mass, as you can see in Exhibit C here, where severe Alzheimer's has a very noticeable
Coby, I hate to
brain
interrupt.
change.
I don't know if it's just me, but my slides are not updating. I just see the first one there.
No, I was going to say the same thing. And let me
Okay.
pause the your timer. There you
Can
go.
you see?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
There
Interesting.
you go. Got it.
So This is the mini cog, and then the other test that I was sharing. And then, did it change again here?
Yes, you're all good.
Okay. And this is a normal versus a Alzheimer's impacted brain. So very different. But these cognitive assessment tests will be able to determine whether you have cognitive decline. With the new treatments that are disease modifying, they really can delay the progression by about 25 to 40% depending on the treatment and the demographic. But it needs to be caught at this mild cognitive impairment stage or early dementia, so in the mild stages that may begin interfering with some daily activities because it doesn't regrow your brain, doesn't bring back memory, just slows down the rate that the dementia gets worse. So our priority is to standardize cognitive assessment testing. So at the annual wellness visits, when people over 65 go in, our priority, our policy proposal is that it's automatically going to be a part of the visit. It already is, but right now observation is the minimum, and unless the practice already goes further into looking at a cognitive assessment test, observation is the sole form of recognizing the disease, which is fairly ineffective. There is opt-out provisions, but generally we want it to be an automatic opt-in. And if should the patient not want to pursue the testing, it's opt-out because it is non-invasive and only does take a few minutes of time. Our other priorities include dementia training for healthcare providers, which we're working at looking at physician training as well as long-term care home training through CNAs, and then establishing an Alzheimer's Disease Research Center at the University of Hawaii at Manoa. And this is going to be a resolution this last one just to kind of get the ball rolling on seeing what resources are needed, what resources we already have at the university level, and how we can better promote this policy going forward. So in April 3rd of this year, we're going to be having our Advocacy Day at the Capitol. We've done it the past few years. And if anyone's interested in joining us, we're happy to have you and can send out more info later. Mahalo.
Perfect timing. I was just about to stop the timer, but it went off. Okay, thank you very much, Coby, for that presentation.
Coby, you're gonna have to stop the share.
Yes.
So, unfortunately, the original presenter for the next group is not able to participate today. So we're going to move from the Hawaii Alliance for Nonprofit Organizations, and we're going to move on to Hawaii Children's Action Network, Nicole Wu, who's the Director of Research and Economic Policy. So Nicole, you're up.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me. It's really great to see so many people at this meeting. And you might be wondering why a children's group is part of or presenting to your group, which is more looking at kupuna issues. But we're learning that families in Hawaii, we have multiple generations. We have more than in any other state, actually, multiple generations living in one household. So we find it really helpful to talk to legislators and our lawmakers and the media about how you can't silo us into one issue or the other when you're talking about families. I'm going to be talking about one bill for a lot and another bill for a little bit. One is paid family leave that Audrey from AARP mentioned. And the second one is another tax credit called the Child and Dependent Care Tax Credit. And so let me get started. Share screen. Okay, there's a million things in front of my face. Sorry.
I'm going to pause the timer just for a moment like I did with Coby so you can get set up, and then I might do.
Can you see the full slides? Yeah?
Yes.
Okay. So we coordinate the Paid Leave Hawaii Coalition and Caregiver Council, AARP, and a lot of other groups are part of it. We're so glad to have so many partners in trying to pass paid family leave. Very quickly, just want to go over what paid family leave is. It's not just for new babies, but the bills that we've been trying to pass would allow workers to take time off and still get paid if they need to take care of themselves or their family members. So that would include kupuna care, and this would be for serious health issues. So you can see in this chart, family leave, bonding with a new baby, medical leave for your own medical needs. If you're a worker, you can take time off for that and still get paid. And then some states have active duty leave. If you have a military member going to and being deployed, the spouse could take some time off to deal with make those arrangements and still get some pay. And the last bullet is safe leave. Some states have domestic violence leave for those survivors to be able to get their families to safety, maybe go to get a restraining order, but they can take that time off and still get some pay. So we're including all the things we're seeing in other states to make sure that we have a good bill here. The United States is the only developed country that doesn't have some sort of national paid family leave. We're at the very bottom. I know that's hard to see, so I split it into two. You can see on the right side, the United States has 0 weeks of paid leave. Mexico is right above us, the second worst state, and it's 12 weeks. These were the OECD countries, which are mostly developed countries. And you can see on the left side, we've got Europe with several years of leave. The OECD average is just a little over a year. Even Canada on the left side is right under the OECD average, and that's a year. So to fill that gap, in the United States, 13 states and DC have passed paid family leave. You can see we're not colored in. We think Hawaii should join them, and we can color in our state on that map. This is a lot, but basically only 1 in 4 private sector workers in Hawaii have access to paid family leave. So there's a real need. And the bottom bullet is from AARP. We currently have about 154,000 unpaid caregivers, providing 144 million hours of unpaid care every year. That comes out to billions of dollars in unpaid care every year. So, we've been expecting our families to just cobble together and struggle through these leave needs. And we just don't think anyone should have to choose between their loved ones and their paycheck. Lots of research shows that paid family leave helps children by helping their parents, especially working moms. The families end up being healthier, more economically secure. The moms are more likely to stay in the workforce. And these families are less likely to need public benefits because they are getting some pay when they need to take time off. The business community has learned that this is good for them. Lots of research shows that when workers have paid family leave, they are more productive, more loyal. It helps small businesses provide this type of leave because we're thinking about doing a statewide program. And it can also help our working families from leaving for other states that already have paid family leave. So what we're looking at is employers on the left side and the employees. They pay into the program through payroll deductions like Social Security or Medicare. And then it goes into a trust fund. And then out on the right side, when a worker needs to take time off to care for their family or to take care of themselves, they get the benefits. And the program administration is also included in the costs that are covered by the payroll deductions. Oh, I'm out of time.
But I don't want to, I'm going to let you go if it's okay, because I know yours is a little bit more. I'm going to let you go about 30 seconds over if you want to try to just get the last part of it. And then we can come back to you during the Q&A if there's more time, if you want to.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. And so, there've been plenty of studies done. This is a big one that was done a few years ago. It's almost 200 pages, but we found that, paid family leave in Hawaii, it's feasible. It's not expensive. 94% of Hawaii workers support it. So we have this website for paid family leave. And just one quick other share for the Child Independent Care Tax Credit. Oh, how do I stop this? Sorry. I'm trying to, okay.
You're fine. It came off the screen, so it's not shared anymore.
Great. Okay, so the last one I just wanted to show you quickly is the Child Independent Care Tax Credit. This is a tax credit for childcare, but also if, for example, you have a spouse that needs to be in daycare while you're working, you could get a tax credit for those kind of expenses. It's a little different from what AARP is doing, but these are for, basically childcare or adult care. This credit's been around for years. It was way too low. So 2 years ago, 2023, the lawmakers increased the amount up to $10,000 per dependent from $2,400. But there's a cap that's still stuck there. It's if you make more than $50,000 a year, you can only get 15% of your care expenses back. That means if you have a $10,000 care bill, you can only claim $1,500. And the legislators told us that that was just sort of a mistake at the end of session. They meant to raise that percent as well. It just didn't make it in. Last year, the bill made it to the end of session. It didn't pass at the very end. So we're coming back one more time. We're going to keep coming. This chart sort of shows like how it helps certain families. We're looking at kids, but families who are sort of Alice or middle class are the ones that really need this tax credit to help them deal with their care expenses. So sorry for taking more than my allotted time.
No worries.
Thanks for letting me do that.
We know that it's important to present the details sometimes in the presentation. Thank you very much, Nicole. And I do know there's a couple that aren't going to be here, so we have a little bit of flexibility. So I don't think Kathy's joined us. I'm going to move on because I didn't see her name. And I didn't see, so for the moment, we don't have Hawaii Meals on Wheels unless you joined and I didn't notice. So Michelle Cadirao Lee, if she joins us during the presentation, we'll bring her in at some point later. So we're going to move on to Hawaii Parkinson's Association, Glen Higa, the president.
Hi, good morning, and thank you very much to the Kokua Council for the opportunity to make a presentation today. As announced, my name is Glen Higa. I am the president of the Hawaii Parkinson Association since 2023, and I've also been living with young onset Parkinson's for nearly 7 years now. Let me share my screen. Okay. So the Hawaii Parkinson Association, just some background on us. We are the all-volunteer organization whose mission is to positively impact the lives of people affected by Parkinson's disease through support, education, programs, and other services. Since 2020, we have operated a resource center in the St. Francis Healthcare Liliha campus with both local and national resources available for patients, care partners, family, friends, and the general public. We operate 17 support groups statewide and are looking to keep adding more, especially in underserved communities and segments of the population that dealing with Parkinson's. Last year, we operated or participated in 24 different outreach and educational events, both online and in person, including our annual symposium in April, which is the largest free educational event for Parkinson's in Hawaii. And we also hold a fundraising walk at Magic Island each year in the fall as well. We reach over 21,000 people via our electronic newsletter in Hawaii and around the world. Last year, we trained over 30 exercise professionals in Parkinson-related exercise techniques through the YMCA. And we are an independent 501c3 charitable nonprofit, and all funds raised by HPA stays in Hawaii. So I just wanted to give you some background on who has Parkinson's here in Hawaii. There's an estimated 8,000 people in Hawaii that have been diagnosed with Parkinson's. And the Queens Medical Center Parkinson's and Movement Disorder Institute projects that number to double by 2030. So in just 5 years, they expect that number to grow to 16,000. In 2019, the Michael J. Fox Foundation estimated the direct indirect costs to care for people with Parkinson's in Hawaii was $250 million. Nationwide, over 1 million people in the US are estimated to have Parkinson's, and approximately 90,000 are diagnosed each year. And one person is diagnosed every 6 minutes in the US. And Parkinson's disease is now considered the fastest growing neurological condition in the world, even surpassing Alzheimer's. So we have two legislative priorities that we're looking for this year. Our first priority is for the upcoming legislature session is to establish a Parkinson's disease registry in Hawaii. Purpose of the registry is to correctly account for as many people diagnosed with Parkinson's in the state of Hawaii and the impact that it has on the community. Because if you remember what I said earlier, everything was estimated. So currently 14 states have Parkinson's registries established. The key benefits of the registry are, again, define the accurate number of people diagnosed with Parkinson's in each county, city, and neighborhood in Hawaii. Identify areas where access to care is limited or non-existent and the need is evident. Identify areas where support groups, exercise classes, and other programs are needed. And four, highlight the issues facing lawmakers in their districts on the challenges people with Parkinson's face. Our second priority is to secure funding for an outreach campaign to provide additional awareness of Parkinson's disease and the role of HPA in the community. The outreach campaign will seek to achieve the following objectives. We want to improve the awareness of Parkinson's disease symptoms in Hawaii, including identifying symptoms, treatment, and therapeutic options. We want to improve the awareness of HPA, Hawaii Parkinson Association, including the services and programs we provide statewide and the resource center that we have currently here at St. Francis, which I'm at right now. We want to reduce the stigma of Parkinson's, especially within the Native Hawaiian, Asian, Polynesian, and Pacific Islander communities. Those are the communities that tend to shy away from disclosing their Parkinson's disease. And finally, highlight the abilities of those living with Parkinson's to live a fulfilling and normal life, such as, well, me. Anyway, thank you for the opportunity to present this information to you all. And if you have any questions, I'll be happy to take them at a later time. Thank you.
Hey, thank you very much, Glenn. You had a little bit of time left, but we appreciate that presentation. I personally appreciate it because my mother had Parkinson's and she lived quite a long life with it. So I do appreciate that. Let me reset the timer. And let's see, go to our next presenter. So has Cori joined us? Excuse me just for a moment while I look at our guest to see.
I'm here.
Oh, you are. Perfect. Okay. So let me introduce you. So we have next up Hawaii True Cost Coalition, Cori Tanida, and she will be presenting. Go ahead, Cori.
Hi. You guys can see the full screen, yeah? Okay,
Yes.
great. Thank you. So hi, my name is Cori Tanida, and right now I'm helping to represent and share about the Hawaii True Cost Coalition. I came to, I used to come to these before COVID at the church, so it's nice to see some familiar faces. And I'm sure you guys are wondering, who is True Cost Coalition? Never heard of these guys. Long story short, we are a coalition of over 70 local nonprofits. This is, you can see a list of some of the members on the side here. And we're really just coming together because government contracts, unfortunately, do not cover the true costs of services, right? Whether that's overhead or sufficient pay for salaries, supplies, etc. It's not sufficient. And a lot of the contracts, especially with the state, have not been increased in the last 10 years. They have remained stagnant. And we all know, right, things have gone up. Just inflation within tough economic times, Maui wildfires. Things are getting more difficult and more people are seeking services. And so, what do our nonprofit friends, and many of them are actually on this call too, that are members, what do they do, right? Unfortunately, they have to divert their resources to either fundraise or cut services, serve less people. Some have even closed their doors, right? And it's the plethora you can see from our membership here, from kupuna services, Meals on Wheels, early childhood education, youth, homelessness. We serve everybody, right? It's the most vulnerable in our community, and we can't afford to not have our social safety net there. And so really we're coming together, and we're really trying to prioritize right now for the upcoming legislative session, increasing contracts with the Department of Health, the Department of Human Services, and Judiciary, since those three departments have the majority of the contracts that we tend to work with. But there are others as well. And of course, we would love to eventually get to the county and federal government, but that's another issue for another time and another day. But as you can see, it really is just about ensuring that we can continue to serve the community. And here, just a quick overview. You can see, I don't have to make the case. Again, we all know cost of living is going up. More people are seeking services, and so we have to do the right thing. We have to make the nonprofits whole so they can continue to serve, right? Because they also have to cut salaries, which, ends up in vacancies. Again, it's just a cyclical process, so we cannot keep going down this race to the bottom, right? Just so you can get a picture of where we're at, we did a survey result 2022, and you can see 91% of the respondents said that government contracts fell below the operating costs. 40% are concerned, right, that it's going to, they may have to close or may not be able to continue. And look at all the things that CBOs have done just to make it work so far. But right, again, it's getting to be unsustainable and untenable, the situation. So, I just encourage you to go ahead. We have a website, hitruecost.com. If you find it in your heart, we are going to be introducing some bills this year in the House and the Senate to again ask for contract increases for those three departments that I mentioned. So I know a lot of you are active advocates already. So if you have some time to, just submit some testimony and support, that'd be great. And we'll be coming out with some op-eds and some news pieces. So if you see it and you want to write a letter to the editor or anything, by all means, And again, while you guys are at the Capitol anyway, please just mention the support for nonprofit organizations. And if you guys want more information or you want to join us, please just email me. My email address is there, ctanida@hawaiipublicpolicy.com. I'm happy to take questions at the end, but unfortunately, I cannot stay until the end. I have another conflicting meeting, so I'll leave it there. But email me, and I can put my number and contact information in the chat. So thank you guys so much for listening.
Thank you so much. We appreciate that. And yeah, if we get through this, but right before you're about to leave, we could try to get a question to you first. So we'll see if anyone has a question for you.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Reset the timer, and thank you for that. And next up, we have our long-term care ombudsman, John McDermott. And he has been in that position for quite a while, from what I understand. So, John, you're up.
Okay, thank you very much for inviting me. I just wanted to talk about 4 quick issues. One was on Friday, OCA, Office of Healthcare Assurance, presented to PABEA, and the Friday before, they were guest speaker for the Kupuna Caucus. And they're proposing a bill that, in addition to the regular unannounced inspection of care homes, foster homes, and assisted living, that they also want to add an announced visit for the purposes of trying to get these homes to do a better job, that they can pass the inspection, that provide additional training for them. We think that's a good idea. That was not actually what the bill said, if you read the bill. And so we have talked to Senator Sharon Moriwaki, and she suggested that we be part of rewriting the draft of that bill, which we did. So anyway, this is just kind of a heads up that when the bill is introduced, we do have to monitor, because when you open up the doors to amend any kind of a bill, then all of a sudden changes that you did not anticipate can happen. And we want to make sure that our inspections remain unannounced. And inspections and visits, we get very sloppy about that terminology, but they mean two totally different things. So that's a heads up on that. The second one is that regarding insurance. So CMS, the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, requires that anybody who's being discharged from a nursing home, I get a copy of the discharge notice. And there's 5 legitimate reasons why you can discharge. Facilities going out of business, the resident has gotten better, they don't need to be there. The resident has gotten worse, they need to go back to the hospital. The resident is considered a danger to self or others, and the resident is refusing to pay. So those are the 5 legitimate reasons, but we're starting to see more facilities put down that it's the insurance company that is kicking the people out. And this should not be an insurance issue. This should be a medical decision by the doctor, by the caregivers, by the therapist. So we know about this because of Luigi Mangione and, you know, a terrible thing that he did, but he did get everybody talking about insurance. And we all pay into this all the years that we're working. Then you're 80, 85 years old, you're in a nursing home, you need physical therapy. Medicare pays the first 20 days, and on the 21st day, the coinsurance is supposed to start kicking in some money, and instead they want to kick you out so that they don't end up having to pay anything at all. So that is not written yet, but we're talking to some people about proposing that as legislation. It might end up being for next session. And then related is with the foster homes, community care family foster homes. We have several homes that have actually had to file for bankruptcy because the state does not pay on time. So these managed care companies are not paying people. And you still got to pay your electric bill, you got to pay for the food, you got to pay for your gas, all those kinds of things. So we need to make sure that Medicaid does their job so that the caregivers can do their job. And so we don't want to see any more facilities having to file for bankruptcy because they're not getting paid on time. And the last thing is that the 5 bills that were chosen by the Kupuna caucus, one of them that did not make the cut, unfortunately, was increasing the amount of money that foster homes get. They haven't received any pay raise in maybe, I don't know, 15 or 17 years. So that one private pay person is the one that they gouge, they can charge whatever they want, because the 2 Medicaid folks, the reimbursement is so pitiful that they really cannot survive. So those are just kind of 4 heads up that I wanted everybody to know about. Thank you.
Thank you, John. You have a little more time. You're good?
Go Irish.
All right. Thank you very much for that. And next up, we have Barbara Service, who serves also on the Kokua Council's board, but she's here representing PABEA, which is the Policy Advisory Board for Elder Affairs. And she's let's see, on the she's a legislative committee chair for PABEA. So she's going to be presenting for PABEA. Go ahead, Barbara.
Hi, I'm the legislative chair for PABEA, as Greg just said. PABEA is the Policy Advisory Board for Elder Affairs. Excuse me. And our job is to provide advice to the executive director of the Executive Office on Aging, who is Caroline Cadirao. The bills that have been discussed already are already are part of what we're doing, and then I wanted to add a couple more. But I wanted to stress retirement savings, Alzheimer's issues, paid family leave, caregiver tax credit. Let's see. Okay, I'm sorry. And then the one of special interest to me, which unfortunately did not make it into the Kupuna caucus top 5, is falls prevention. And that one, the members of the committee split up these things to pursue individually, write testimony, etc. And that's the one that I'm supposed to be working on. I've been sick for a couple of weeks, so I'm a little behind, but I really want to stress, for those of you who know, falls prevention is very serious. It does need to be funded. It is a tremendous cost to the state of Hawaii. And more importantly, it often results in a 180-degree change in someone's lifestyle, quality of life, by tripping and falling and breaking a hip. Older folks seldom completely rehabilitate from that. So, like I said, most of these issues are common among many of our groups, especially caregiving and paid family leave, but also, as I said, falls prevention and Hawaii Saves, and we have a lot of commonalities, but we really need to buckle down and get to work. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Barbara. Let me silence my phone. Bear with me. I apologize. I had a message in the chat. I'm just going back up to that disrupted my timer, so I've got to just make sure that the timer isn't still running. So next up, we have, well, first of all, thank you very much, Barbara, for that. I apologize. Again, I was distracted from a chat. Next up, we have Project Dana, Maria Morales, who is the executive director.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for the acknowledgement. I am the incoming executive director. At this time, we still have Josh Levison, who is our interim executive director, who is helping with the transition of leadership. So most of you do know Project Dana, but for those of you who don't, just a quick summary of our organization. We are a nonprofit organization offering a variety of social support services to our kupuna and their caregivers. Our mission is to offer compassionate support and services. And our vision is that every elderly person, every kupuna and their caregivers have the support and services they need to maintain their independence and dignity. We are going through a great transition at this moment in managing our social and support services to kupuna at home. I'm going to pass on the platform to one of our new staff. We have Candice Bryant, who is our intake coordinator.
Hi, all. Can you hear me okay? I am so happy to be here. So I'm our new intake coordinator with Project Dana. And so mostly our services are around connecting volunteers with members of our community with social support. So like friendly visits, transportation is a really big one, and grocery pickup, light housekeeping, that sort of thing. Right now, we're actively recruiting for volunteers and accepting new recipients and really onboarding a lot more people onto our program. So if you know anyone who's interested in volunteering, I can definitely get a link to you. And we're really looking forward to what this looks like in 2025. We have a new computer system and a lot of needs in the community that we are trying to support.
Thank you, Candice. Along with our social and support services to our kupuna, we have our Caring for the Caregivers program to family caregivers, where we offer public presentation meetings, trainings, support group meetings, and one-on-one counseling for family caregivers. So with Project Dana, we don't have legislative we're unable to do specific legislations, but we do, as professionals, individually support bills that are support our kupuna and caregivers in the community. Some issues that we do want to bring up as we experience as one of the service providers is our organization, we really focus on the senior gap group, where we have a group of kupuna who are unable to afford the high cost of private pay services, but have pretty much their financial resources are not low enough to be able to qualify for subsidized government services. So that's where our organization, our volunteers come in and assist. And that's we're just one of the organizations. So we're looking to support any legislation that will help continue on that mission, in servicing this senior gap group. And along with that, because, unable to pay for private services and not being able to qualify for government services, a lot of the burden then falls into the family caregivers. So we're looking to support, again, any legislation that will help increase education, training, just social support for the family caregivers as well. Thank you so much for letting us share.
Thank you very much, Maria. We appreciate that. And with that, to go back a little bit because we've got a couple that aren't here. And we're going to go into our Q&A in a moment. I'm going to give a very brief comment for Kokua Council in just a moment, but I noticed someone had chatted, and I do see the name there. So the question I'm going to ask, I hope I didn't miss anything, and I don't see it on the notice that was sent out. We have the Executive Office of Aging here, and we have Caroline Cadirao, if I pronounced that name properly. Gary, maybe you could just let me know, is Caroline someone that was supposed to be speaking today, or is that something we want to?
Yes.
Okay. So I think there was just a mistake or a miss on the notice. I apologize. So next up, I'm going to be calling Caroline from EOA. And
thank you so much, Greg. I'm here. I'm Caroline
thank you.
Cadirao.
Sorry about that, Caroline.
No problem. I'm Caroline Cadirao, Director of the Executive Office on Aging. Thank you for having us here today. I just wanted to, before I get into our legislative priorities, I just wanted to share that our mission is really to optimize the health, safety, and independence of Hawaii's older adults and people with disabilities. And we do that by supporting our kupuna and our caregivers through planning, development, advocacy, and the coordination of policies, programs, and services. And many of the legislative priorities that have come forward today really address that mission that I just shared with you. And I just wanted to share, I don't have a slide presentation, but just wanted to share with you 3 of our budget requests that are in the budget bill, and also a project that is being proposed by EOA, and it's a Kupuna Caucus measure that has been voted and approved. First of all, our budget requests, we have an ask for a program specialist for the Executive Office on Aging, Advocacy, Education, and Outreach section. And this is to support our state health insurance assistance program. They provide one-on-one Medicare counseling to Medicare beneficiaries, soon-to-be retirees, and their families, and provide unbiased support for those individuals so that they can make the best decision possible when choosing a Medicare plan. We have 2 requests that are conversion request. We're asking that our positions for the Senior Medicare Patrol be converted from temporary to permanent. And those are 3 positions that was approved in the 2 legislative sessions ago, but they are temporary, and we're asking that they be converted to permanent. Our third is last year's Act 159 that required the Executive Office on Aging to come up with a long-term care plan. And it also allowed for a long-term care planner position. We're asking that that position also be converted from temporary to permanent, because the work of the long-term care planner is not time specific. This will be ongoing work that to address all of our long-term care needs within our community. So that's a very important position that we want to have change from temporary to permanent position. And then the last one that I wanted to share with you is our Medi project. And that would be to really support those that, to really streamline the processes for those that are kind of what we call our dual eligibles. They have both Medicare and Medicaid, and they have needs that support. But let me back up. We have Medicare beneficiaries, about over 300,000 within our state. And we know that our cost of living continues to rise. And we know with that comes the healthcare costs and prescription drug costs. Those continue to rise. And when DHS had to do that redetermination, and then they had to extend it because of the wildfires, our state health insurance assistance program experienced significant increase in calls from Medicaid beneficiaries between 2023 and 2024. And each year, we don't just do counseling. We train our volunteers and our staff on Social Security Administration, extra help, the Medicare Savings Program. We look at benefits, costs, and updates. So we ensure that all that information that people may be asking when they call, we have the information to provide and to provide support for that. We also get a lot of direct referrals from MedQuest, Social Security Administration, our area agencies on aging, our various network providers to support these individuals that have these additional needs, to kind of look at all their benefits that may support them in their needs. We screen for eligibility for low-income programs. We compare plans across counties. We provide that Medicaid, Medicare Savings Program support, and provide resources for things like SNAP and housing, caregiver support, transportation. So what we're asking in this Medi project that we want to support is for 1 full-time equivalent staff to support that, and also an increase in building our capacity. So we have some operating costs in there. So that's what the Medi project is. I have staff that can stay on. I do have to excuse myself, but they are here that can answer any questions when you get to the Q&A. So I appreciate the time. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I apologize for the not having you properly on my list, but we had you on agenda originally when we sent out the notice.
No
So
problem.
that was,
I wanted to make sure I could get in before I had to leave.
yeah, no, I apologize. That was my bad. So we will next time I'll double check. We had a couple notices that went out.
Excuse me, Greg. One addition was Cullen Hayashida.
Yes, I knew. I think there was another one that I on my list. Go ahead. So, if Gary, if you could maybe just introduce the group, the name again and the group.
Well, sure. Cullen Hayashida, please. I don't believe he's presenting with any affiliated agency, just perhaps as a citizen. Please, Cullen.
Okay, sorry about that. Yeah, I didn't want to take too much time, and this is not a request for funding per se. and perhaps among all the other issues, it's relatively small. But it has to do actually with contracts that, or it has to do with mortuaries of all places. It sounds a bit morbid, but I'm sure that I'm bringing this up as a consumer protection issue. And we all know there's a growing number of older adults. There's and this oftentimes results in a growing number of deaths at the end of life, and high use of cremation services in Hawaii. And cremation services oftentimes results in the ashes that is provided in urns that is given to the families either for burial or to retain. And some families, of course, will have it dispersed in the natural environment. However, in this process, there's pieces of metal, precious metal, that is not included as part of the ash. And what happens is some work was done with Senator Carol Fukunaga to ask the Mortuary Association to see whether or not there could be some kind of modification to existing contracts that exist in the industry to inform the family with regards to what is being done with these precious metals, these surgical implants. And there's been a kind of a pushback to say that they don't want to change the existing contracts, which does not cover or does not specify anything related to what they do with these things that are not included in the urn, and oftentimes are recycled. But as far as whether or not it's recycled for revenue, or whether or not it's not, or whether or not it's simply disposed of in our let's say in our environment, which perhaps is also an issue, is not clear. And so Senator Carol Fukunaga is preparing a bill that is trying to get some effort to incorporate some kind of wording in the existing contracts that families have with for their deceased loved ones with these mortuaries, to stipulate that if there is precious metals or surgical implants, that the family is informed with regards to what is being done with it. Now, if the family is okay with it being donated, and if it's donated and revenues are received by the mortuaries and they're okay with that, that's fine and good. The question is that this is seemingly not being properly shared with the general community. And so this is just an intent to make the public aware that this is something that is a consumer protection issue, and then the consumers should know what is transpiring. So anyway, I just wanted to inform you about this. With a growing number of older adults, growing number of deaths, growing numbers of cremations in Hawaii, growing number of use of surgical implants, I suspect that this is a consumer protection issue that is worthy of consideration. So I just wanted to make you aware of this, that a bill will probably be appearing. And if we, even though this may seem as though it is a relatively small issue, I hope that we can use this as a way of assuring the public that we are aware and that we want to protect them. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Cullen, for that. And I'm gonna, in just a moment, before we lose one person, I'm gonna give an opportunity for questions. But I wanted to just make sure that the two that were not present earlier, that we don't have anybody representing those groups. So we had Hawaii Family Caregiver Coalition, Kathy Wyatt was on our agenda, and Hawaii Meals on Wheels, Michelle Cadirao Lee. Is there anyone on the Zoom from either of those groups that was going to present before we move on to questions? Okay, seeing no one saying anything. We still have Cullen still showing on video, Doug. I'm not sure if that's fine. It's okay, but it's
I've got you on my screen.
okay. All right. So I'm going to shut off the timer. And I had a very brief comment to make, which I'll make, and then I'm going to go right to the one presenter that's got to leave if she's still there. So I'm just going to mention for Kokua Council very quickly. We've been around for over 50 years and in Hawaii, and we serve seniors and less advantaged in the community to have a better voice in the legislature so that things they might not be able to do on their own. They've got a group of us that, we help to advocate for them. And we're currently still working on our legislative priorities collectively as a group. So there's nothing I'm going to disseminate today regarding what we as Kokua Council will support. But we do want you to provide us your bill numbers, let us know what you're supporting, the details, and we'll take a look at that also. And it may be something we can provide testimony even as individuals or as Kokua Council if we agree as a board. And with that, I'm going to go back, if she's still there, to excuse me for not remembering everybody's names exactly, to Cori Tanida. Are you still there, Cori?
Yes, I'm still here.
Okay. Does anyone have a question for Cori before she has to leave?
No,
I know
but
they're just busy
I'd like
writing
to
their
thank her for because I didn't know what the group was about. So thanks much.
Okay.
Thank
And then
you
I'm
for the
gonna
invitation, Doug.
yeah, we'd all like to thank you so much. We appreciate your time. And then I'm going to be handing this off to Doug now. So I'd like to open up the forum for
Hi.
questions and pass it off to Doug
If
Matsuoka.
anyone has a question, they can put it in chat. If anyone has a question even to each other, I know you guys probably don't sit down all together at one time. So if you have a question for each other, put it in chat and we'll get to that. Right now, I have a question from one of our directors, Helen Wagner. I don't know if you want to ask this question yourself. You can go ahead and do that. If not, I can ask it for you.
I just unmuted myself. My name is Helen Wagner, and I've always been involved with the senior community. And we found that a lot of and maybe this is directed to the Parkinsons and to Barbara regarding senior falling. It has been really noted that a lot of diagnoses have been wrong. As far as Parkinson's, they say sometimes it's mistaken because of overuse of medications given to the seniors, the same with falling. And I personally have seen the medications that the seniors who carry around their list in their pockets for emergency are saturated with medication. It's unbelievable. And a lot of it, even the shaking, when I was at a senior fair, the Parkinson's group was next to us, and one of the volunteers was shaking, and they said, "No, that's from over medication. You should check with your doctors to go over your medications." And a lot of seniors have found that they really love their medications, and there is a lot of abuse on what they are taking. Because again, the body, and I know we're seniors, But a lot of seniors find that medication is what they do rather than exercise and socialize and all the different things that are available for the seniors. What are your comments on what are they doing regarding advising them, because it's been suppressed by the pharmaceuticals to even bring up the subject of over-medicating seniors? So,
thank you, Helen, for the question about medication in Parkinson's. This is Glen Higa, the Hawaii Parkinson Association. Yes, over medication is an issue for a lot of people with Parkinson's. That shaking that you notice at the senior fair for one of our bonds is called dyskinesia. Dyskinesia is basically it's another term for uncontrollable movements, which is caused by an imbalance of the dopamine levels in your body. So basically, what that means is that with Parkinson's medication, there's like a Goldilocks effect to everything. If you have too little bit, you get symptoms. If you have too much, you get other types of symptoms. And if you have it just right amount, then everything works fine, and you can go on with your day. What we tell our members of our community is you are your best advocate for your own body. You know your own body the best, and your doctor can only guess how much medication you need and how much effort that it takes for you to get through the day. And so you need to be open and honest with your physician or your neurologist and exactly say what you're feeling throughout the day. And so that's what our advice is to not only just the seniors who have Parkinson's, but everybody who has Parkinson's in general.
Thank you, Barbara.
You're welcome.
Barbara, you're muted.
I'm sorry, did you want me to say something?
Yeah, regarding falling. And a lot of it is due from over-medication.
Right. That's true, Helen. And I think what Glenn said was important. You know your body best. You need to, to talk to your doctor. I think I hate to think that a lot of seniors would be so dependent on medication that they wouldn't look at alternatives. But certainly taking a pill is easier than getting up and walking around the block, for instance. Another thing that I didn't mention with respect to falls is how it relates to hearing. Problems with hearing often relate to, a balance problem and subsequently a fall. But like as Glenn said, I want to repeat, you need to tell your doctor what's going on with you, and doctors do need to be aware that medication isn't the best. But as I said, it is a easy way out. And for some people, it is important. I certainly don't want to tell people to go off medicine because they're over medicated. That's a discussion between the person and his or her doctor.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I have a question. We have so many nonprofits here, so anybody can take a stab at this. And that is that, Kokua Council, we're a small nonprofit. What kind of political stuff can we participate in without jeopardizing our nonprofit status? I mean, I think we can't actually advocate for a particular candidate, but we can advocate for issues. Does somebody want to take a stab at what we can or can't do? I thought we had an attorney here. Maybe we don't, so.
Keali, can you respond to that?
That would be a good choice.
Keali, can you hear me?
Hold on. So first of all, I'm not an attorney. And any knowledge I have is just really more related to nonprofits in general. And you're right. In fact, the Office of Campaign Spending has specific language around what nonprofits can do. And it's really around if endorsement, as you say. So one of the things you can do is what the Kokua Council does, which is provide a forum for candidates to express their thoughts. You can be specific about the issues you want them to address and obviously have those questions. The degree to which you have criteria, by the way, that allows you to select, say you've got 20 candidates running for the same office and you can't really afford yourself opportunity for all 20 to participate in a forum. If you're able to come up with real objective criteria for how you reduce the number of candidates. So AARP, as an example, has used some ideas around the amount of money that might have been raised. Again, for some offices, you're going to want to have that number be relatively low, or you'll only have the incumbents only, right? So I'll give you an example. We did a forum for the Hawai'i Island mayor's race. And so we used the threshold of $10,000, so you go to campaigns. So we had $10,000 that they had to have a website, that was an active website. You might, some folks, again, depending on how you want to scale it, can be a requirement that the candidate has a campaign headquarter. Again, for small races, that might be a little bit harder. Others, for really big races, maybe you'll have polling data. For the Honolulu mayor's race, for the Hawai'i Island mayor's race, we knew there wasn't going to be sufficient polling data. So again, if you have criteria that you identify beforehand, not once if things come in, as long as you're, again, transparent about what that criteria is and that you actually follow that. So forums are really the best way to do that. And you're right, you cannot endorse a candidate.
Okay, thanks for that. One clarifying question. I notice a lot of nonprofit groups have lobbyists. What is lobbying, and can we do that or not do that? As far as you know, as a non-attorney.
So AARP does lobbying, but we're not a 501c3. We are a 501c3. We're a 501e. We have our nonprofit, which is our foundation. Yeah. We're a C4, which allows us to lobby. But nonprofits can as well. It's a matter of, you'll need to look it up. There's a threshold related to the number of hours within a set period of time or percentage of actual time. So if you have someone who's spending 50% of their time every week, you have to register as a lobbyist and then complete the required documents and materials.
Okay, and that would disqualify. That would disqualify you as a 501c3, as far as you know.
You need to check, believe it or not, with a tax attorney. Because you don't want to jeopardize. Sure. You don't know, because you don't want to jeopardize your tax exempt status.
Right.
So I would check with if you have or even if you have someone who does your audits, an accountant or.
Right.
Sorry, I can't answer that part.
Okay, thanks much. And the reason why I asked that to everyone on Kokua Council is a political activist of one kind or another, which is why we're in Kokua Council. So. Anyone else want to add on to that or have any comments about that? That's all as far as questions that I have.
I have one for Cullen. I'd like to know, what items are you referring to that the families would have to be known to, by the mortuaries? What items are you referring to?
Well, basically, it's clarification with regards to anything that is considered to be not part of the human ash, so it would be precious metals that would remain in the sanatorium, and that so when they clear out the sanatorium with the ash, they insert the ash in an urn, of course, and that's provided to the family. But any precious metal, from implants, from your spine or knees or your teeth or anything of that sort, is sort of kept on the side and collected. And families are not informed or not requested for permission with regards to how that is being recycled or resold.
So, Cullen, do we suspect that the mortuaries may be selling the
There's a
stuff?
possibility. There are companies on the mainland that do purchase these recycled precious metals.
Oh,
Now,
man.
obviously, it has to go through a chemical process because they've got all sorts of things that are mixed together, from
Right.
titanium, palladium, gold, silver, and other sorts of things. Anyway, yeah, there are companies that actually purchase that.
Wow.
So Cullen,
We just want people to be above board.
Right.
so Cullen, you're talking about things like gold crowns in your teeth or titanium rods for hip replacements, knee
Right.
replacement. Yeah, is that what you're talking about? Yeah. Okay.
Correct. Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, that's all I have question-wise. Greg, if you have something?
If before we wrap it up, because we're just close to the mark, if anyone that's presenting today has any questions for each other, or they might want to make an additional comment or statement, this would be the time to do that. So just
May I just have
go
the
ahead.
time
Yes.
to also show our new outreach and recruitment coordinator. Her name is Madisyn Sim, just so our partners are familiar with new staff here at Project Dana. Madisyn, if you can just come and say hi real quick.
Hi, everybody. I'm the new outreach and recruitment coordinator for Project Dana. I look forward to kind of getting to know all of you in the near future and finding out how our organizations can collaborate and get some good work done for the kupuna here in Hawaii. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you. And I apologize earlier if I pronounced it Dana. It is Dana. I think that is the correct pronunciation. So my mispronunciation of the name. So thank you for all of your work, because we appreciate that you have multiple people here. If anyone else has something that they missed or they want to take a moment, we've got a few minutes. So I'll let someone else chime in if they want to say something.
Greg? Oh, go ahead,
Go
Helen.
ahead. Either or. Go ahead, Helen. You want to go first?
When I was young, Alzheimer's was referred to as feeble-minded with the seniors, and it was a natural process. And then Parkinson's and Alzheimer's came into being, and a lot of money was diverted to Alzheimer's. What is the difference? They're similar, feebleness of the seniors. What is the difference between Parkinson's and Alzheimer's?
I think Glenn and I might be able to tackle this one.
Yeah. Go for it.
Glenn, you want to start out with
Coby.
Parkinson's, and then I can go into dementia and Alzheimer's?
Sure. So Parkinson's is a neurodegenerative movement disorder. It's basically what happens is there's a section in your brain called the substantia nigra that that loses the ability to produce a certain nerve cell that produces dopamine. And when the dopamine is lacking in your brain, in your body, it causes movements to be uncontrollable or slow moving or yeah, so either slow moving or uncontrollable. So when that happens, when that gets about 70% of your brain nerve cells that are lost in that section of your brain, you're more than often diagnosed with Parkinson's. Thing about Parkinson's is that it can strike at any age, even though the primary diagnosis is after the age of 60. The most common risk factor for Parkinson's is aging. There is no cure for Parkinson's. There is also no definitive cause for Parkinson's as well. 15% of people who get Parkinson's, they think come from genetics. The remainder come from, they suspect, environmental factors such as chemicals in the air, pesticides in the water, fertilizers, and so forth, or head trauma as well. So what we're seeing is a lot of veterans coming back from the Gulf Wars that are being diagnosed with Parkinson's because of the roadside bombs that are going off and they get concussed. You hear a lot about football players having Parkinson's, again from concussions as well. And then there's a lot of people in certain areas of the country that are subjected to factory emissions and poor air quality that are getting diagnosed with Parkinson's as well. And then there are some people who, like me, that have no exposure to any of those things and just for whatever reason was lucky enough to be diagnosed with Parkinson's. So that is what Parkinson's is.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
On the Alzheimer's side, I kind of went over it in my presentation, but I'll just share a different kind of graphic. Dementia is kind of an overarching name for, I guess, general cognitive decline and memory loss. As you see, this umbrella term, and under it you have Parkinson's. And Parkinson's, as Glenn can probably testify to, isn't necessarily dementia, but dementia symptoms do typically present themselves later. But also there's vascular, which could be something like something caused by a stroke. Alzheimer's disease is one of them, and it's caused by the plaques. Generally, the biggest risk factor is age and could be genetics as well. The plaques are progressive. It gets worse and worse, but everyone has these beta amyloids in their body already. What the research is really looking at is what causes certain people to kind of collect that beta amyloid, and it builds up on the brain. You can see this image here. Can you see my screen okay?
Yep.
Okay. So this image here on the left is an amyloid PET scan. So this is a PET scan that the doctors will inject you via IV with this very short life radioactive particle that attaches itself to the plaques in your brain. And you can see this amyloid PET negative scan on the left. It doesn't have too much of that attaching itself to the brain, whereas the image on the right, it kind of builds up until finally it really starts to block the networks and break down your brain. So that's what Alzheimer's is and what the treatments now are looking at.
Thank you very much for that, both of you. We appreciate that. Barbara, you had something also you were going to say?
Yeah, I was just going to say that effective January 27th, which is 2 weeks from today, Kokua Council is going to be meeting at Harris Methodist Church on the fourth Monday. We'll see how that goes. This coming up on the 27th will be our first one, and we'll see. I don't know anything about a program or an agenda. I just wanted to let you know that that's happening 2 weeks from today at Harris Methodist Church, which is on the corner of Nu'uanu and Vineyard, as many of you know. So hope to see some of you there. Maybe we'll get some information out between now and then. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. And if anyone else, we have just a minute or two, maybe if anyone had one final comment or statement or question, or they missed something, now's your chance. And hearing none, I think we'll close this out. So on behalf of the Kokua Council and our membership, I want to thank everyone for participating today. And we hope that our legislators will provide all organizations the legislation and funding that you all need so that you can be successful. We also ask again that you share with us any bills that are introduced this year so Kokua Council can follow them, and we can hopefully share them also with our membership so they're aware of what's out there. So if we, whether we endorse something, we'd say it. If we don't endorse and we're just sharing information, we can hopefully disseminate that. And we wish everyone a happy and prosperous 2025. And we thank all of you for coming. Mahalo.